Well, Elad Gross, Democratic candidate for the Attorney General's office, thank you so much for joining us here at KRCG 13 today.
Yeah.
I guess just to get things started, can you tell us a little bit about you and about your candidacy?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a lifelong Missourian. I was born and raised in the St. Louis area. And I previously served as an assistant attorney general of the state of Missouri. Today I have my own practice where I primarily sue the government. I hold the government accountable to the people of Missouri, especially when government officials abuse their power. So I'm running for attorney general because I think our government should be on our side. I used to work there. I've seen a lot of the good work that office can do. When we have really strong leadership that's really wants to make sure that the people of Missouri have great service from our government. So got a lot of ideas to get that office working for us again, but that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And as Attorney General, if you are elected, what would be some of your main priorities in office?
Yeah, so I really want to get that office back to doing a lot of those basic functions for people again. So we used to have an extremely strong consumer protection division here in the state of Missouri. A lot of folks don't know this, but we started the do not call list. All of them. I mean, it was started right here in Missouri, and other folks started copying it. You wouldn't know that today based on all the calls and texts and everything else we get. So I want a strong consumer protection division that is going after scammers and protecting Missouri families. I want to make sure that that office has a lot of resources to deal with violence in our communities and coordinate efforts all around our state. I want to make sure that we're protecting our drinking water, and that's something that that office used to do. We used to have a very strong division to protect our natural resources, our water, our land, our air. We don't have that there anymore either. I think that office can do such great work to help bring costs down. I think we need antitrust enforcement to make sure that someone has our backs against these huge companies and big monopolies that just keep increasing prices all the time. So there's a lot of things that office can do, and I think we got to get back to doing it.
And you mentioned crime. That's something that might be top of mind for Missouri voters this fall. The crime rates in Missouri are 28% higher than the national average. What would your office do to kind of help bring this down?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, obviously there's different types of crime. In Missouri, unfortunately, given our strong position from a transportation stance, so we're so central to the country, we have a lot of human trafficking that goes through Missouri. That office is supposed to have a functional anti-human trafficking task force that helps coordinate what's happening around the state. It's not really working at all right now. So I would definitely make that a priority to get that working again. But in the same kind of structure, I think we need a similar task force to deal with violence in our communities too. And that means supporting prosecutors, making sure that folks who have committed violence are off the streets and we're protecting folks, but we need to prevent violence before it occurs. And I've worked with kids for a long time in Missouri. I think that we need investment in our communities, and we need a coordinated effort around the state to do that. We've seen this work in other areas. We should be bringing these ideas to Missouri too. So I will be working with local communities to help them address the needs that they have, but from a statewide perspective, so we're advocating for the people of Missouri.
And throughout your candidacy, you've touched on, as you mentioned, focusing on scammers. If you are elected, what would you do to help just continue to protect Missouri consumers?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm running for Attorney General to sue scammers, including, unfortunately, a lot of those in our government right now. So we've got a lot of folks on the phones who are getting scammed on emails. You're going to the bank and you're all of a sudden taking out a whole bunch of money to send it to somebody that you didn't really know in the first place. So I think there's a few things that we can do. One is we need really strong enforcement. We need to start suing folks and making them pay for what they have done to the people of Missouri. Two is we need to educate Missourians a bit better about what's happening, making sure that we're defended against these AI scams that are coming, these fake voices that people are using. So I want to develop the Missouri Attorney General app, as long as a former president hasn't taken that acronym already. But I want that app to something that you would have on your phone. If you're getting scammed, you can send the evidence straight to our office. We can streamline evidence protection and custody and all that so we can get those prosecutions going. But you can also get warnings about, hey, this is fishy, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Here's some education about it. Here's some things we're seeing in your area, so that folks are better informed about that too.
And reproductive rights may prove to be another big ticket issue on the ballot this November. Where does your office stand on that issue?
Yeah, so, well, the Attorney General's office deals a lot with that issue, actually. So prosecutions are really, there's a lot of power from that office in terms of our abortion laws currently. So on the ballot, there's going to be a whole lot of noise about what this thing says, what it doesn't. And as an attorney, I've actually dealt with a lot of these issues already. But on the ballot, we are going to have an opportunity to put reproductive freedom into our state constitution, which means government won't be able to tell you and your family about those personal decisions that you and your family should be making. I'm a small government guy. I don't believe that big government should be telling us how to live our lives. And this is going to protect not only abortion rights in Missouri and end this extreme ban that is so extreme. Even former President Trump and now Senator Josh Hawley disagree with it. I mean, that's how bad it requires 12-year-old rape victims to carry their pregnancies to term. It's insane. So it would at least allow us to go to court and end that ban, but it would also protect birth control, IVF, and that's really important. So as Attorney General, I will certainly enforce that once it's in our state constitution.
And over the years, as a working attorney, you've spearheaded several cases involving the Sunshine Law.
Yeah.
If you're elected, how would you continue to help hold officials accountable?
Yeah, well, I would get that office doing its job. I mean, so the Sunshine Law is a law that allows us to see what our government is doing. It's a massive a breakthrough really in the 70s about government transparency. It was put forward by a Democratic state senator, and Kit Bond was a Republican governor who signed it, said it was one of the biggest achievements of his political career. We need to get back to having accountable, transparent government, and the Attorney General is the office that is supposed to be enforcing the Sunshine Law. When I had problems with it, I asked the Attorney General to enforce it. They didn't do anything. I had to take that case. It took me 3 years to go to Missouri Supreme Court. Thank goodness I had a credit card. Because otherwise, like, how are normal folks, how are regular people without any training going to be able to access their government? It took an attorney who was paying for it on his own in order to go to the Supreme Court and say, yeah, you all did something wrong and you shouldn't be doing it. So I would certainly protect those rights. I would enforce the Sunshine Law like it's supposed to. I also think we need to update it because we're in 2024. Our government can be a lot more We've got the internet, folks. Like, make it transparent as a default. And there's some things that, you know, we all shouldn't see. There's some private information, certainly, I think we shouldn't see. But at the same time, goodness gracious, we have an abusive government in Missouri right now. We need to know where our taxpayer money is going, which is another reason why I want to start a public corruption unit at the Attorney General's office, specifically to make sure that our taxpayer money is going exactly where it's supposed to go.
Another new office that your campaign has touted that it would start is the Missouri's first Civil Rights Division.
Right.
What would this office kind of look like, and how do you think it could benefit Missourians?
Yeah, so what I'm proposing is starting Missouri's first really comprehensive, fully staffed Civil Rights Division in the history of our state. Most other states have one, and it's not just Democrat states. Oklahoma's got one, Illinois' got one. This is across the board that most states have them. So that office would specifically be designed to prevent government abuses. And I think we need someone on our side. I mean, I've represented folks who were wronged by their government, some folks who were put in jail when they were not supposed to be there, some big lawsuits that ended up the government had to pay a whole bunch of money. That's our money going down the drain because government wasn't doing the right thing. And I think it would be such a taxpayer saving if we had an attorney general who was dealing with these issues in the first place. But also for folks who can't afford an attorney, I mean, that's what the Attorney General is supposed to be. The Attorney General is supposed to be our attorney, the attorney for the people of the state of Missouri, not the attorney for the governor or big government or big donors, but the attorney for you and your family. And if we don't have someone who's standing up for our civil liberties, then we're left to do that on our own, and that doesn't work. And we've seen government take advantage of us a lot of times. So a Civil Rights Division would certainly prevent that.
Another specific issue that you've kind of taken up in your candidacy is the enforcement of puppy mills in Missouri and kind of stopping these. You mentioned that Missouri is the puppy mill capital of America. Why is this issue so important to you?
Well, you know what? You could have invited Liberty Bell into the studio. She's not too far away right now. She's got a whole bunch of water over in the truck, and it's a nice day outside. But yeah, so she travels a lot with me. A lot of folks have seen her around, but she's a puppy mill rescue, and unfortunately, you're right, Missouri is the capital for puppy mills in the entire country, despite the fact that over a decade ago now, the people of Missouri voted on this issue. We put this up on the ballot, and Unfortunately, we passed it as a proposition rather than as an amendment to the Constitution. So then the legislature immediately gutted those protections to try to end puppy mills here in Missouri. Yeah, it's very abusive situations. Liberty Bell's got a broken arm from being in one of those wire cages, is what we think, which we tried to regulate and get rid of. But very abusive situations, and it's also a consumer protection issue. There are folks who are buying dogs, they're spending a whole lot of money doing it. They think, they're cute little ones, whatever they're looking for, but then the dogs are really sick because nobody's taking care of them in the right way. And now you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars trying to save this pet that you have brought into your home, and the pet dies within a few weeks. So, there's a lot of issues that are all centered around it, but unfortunately, Missouri is still the puppy mill capital of the country. And we have more than double these things than the second place in Ohio. So, yeah, I think we need to do a lot to disrupt it. The Attorney General's office plays a big role in enforcing our current laws, and obviously we need to update some too.
If you could kind of condense everything down, all of your campaign efforts for Missourians this fall as they head to the ballot box, if they choose to vote for you, what are they voting for?
Yeah, you're voting to save a bunch of money. Look, I have the biggest tax savings on the ballot because, goodness great, we've seen a lot of money just flowing out of our state. We've seen a lot of corruption in our state government. We've seen a lot of folks who are not there to represent us. They're there to represent these big donors and whatever crazy ideas they have, rather than actually doing basic services for the people of the state of Missouri. So if you want a really good attorney who's going to represent you and your family, you know what, let's get a new attorney general. So my view is we have a great opportunity to have a state. We have such a wonderful state, wonderful folks who are here, and we have a wonderful history of doing such great things in Missouri. So many firsts, investment in public education, consumer protections, all of these things. And it's about time that we have an attorney general who gets us back to doing what Missouri can do.
Awesome. I think those are all the questions I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
And best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.